You're here on CMajor before the show. I'm your host, CMajor Porter. Thank you so much for joining me. I am so excited about today's show. It's a chance to play some piano music, to make up some songs right here live with you on the podcast. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you had a good holiday. It's still the holidays. If you're celebrating Kwanzaa, happy Kwanzaa. If you're celebrating Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah. And if you just celebrated Christmas, I hope your Christmas was merry. And then we're looking forward to the new year. So I'm very excited about that. Yes, I hope you're just as excited as I am. I feel like my holiday has been really, really good. It was different this year. I had a chance to spend some time with family. I'm going to be talking about that a little bit. It's always a fun time with my family because we get to talk about music, we get to talk about sports, we get to talk about so many topics. And speaking of sports, I'm going to be presenting some verses by a very famous sports writer. You may have heard of him. I posted the name over on my Facebook page for CMajor before the show. Grantland, if that's ringing a bell. And if it's not, you can always do a Google search, but I'll say a little bit more about his background and that how I happened upon some of the verses that he gave us. So Grantland Rice wrote this book of songs, and they appear in verse, and it's just really interesting, and it was a gift. And so I'm really appreciative of the gift. So I thought, you know what, let me see if I can just maybe come up with some chords that I would play along to some of the verses. Now, I don't know how appropriate this is going to sound because I'm doing this on the spot. And the reason I'm doing it, because I really want to encourage my students to just pick chords that mean something to them. Now, the chords that I'm using are actually chords that came across my path this week. I was working with a student on a song that they really wanted to know that used chords in this order. So I may not keep the same order. I may decide to go here first and then maybe over to this, okay? So get out your chord charts if you can. Get out your iPads, your pen and paper, your notes, what have you, so you can write down what you think you're hearing. And I don't know, to be honest, how tuned my piano will be in conjunction with yours, but just see what you can pull together. Okay, so what I want to demonstrate here is really how easy it is to pick three chords. It doesn't have to be these three that I'm picking now. But what if you just chose three chords and then you were reading poetry at the same time you were playing the chords that you chose? How would it affect the mood? How would it affect your voice as you're playing? How would it affect the listener as they're hearing it? So let's say if I just read this now dry, I'm not going to read the whole thing at first, but if I said, now that young April's back again, where spring has melted out the snow, what if I just read that dry? But what if I play some chords underneath that? So now that young April's back again, where spring has melted out the snow, where should I place the chords? I don't know. If I'm not even thinking about it, I may just start with an E flat chord. Now that young April's back again, where spring has melted out the snow. That may work. So for 2020, I really am thinking about doing some collaborations with artists that may be doing open mics as we speak. There's something out there called Flowetry. I believe that's also the name of a group. But I know there are musicians and artists out there who flow as they say their poems. And I was really fascinated a few weeks ago when I attended this concert at Carnegie Hall that I told you about. And so I was also able to cross paths with some poets, people that actually write for a living, and so I would love to maybe do something collaborative with them, and you never know where that can go. So the next part says, why should we dally longer here? We have so far, who have so far to go. I think that's how it goes. And why should we dally longer now to find where deeper pleasures dwell, since life can show but these two things, a hell, Hail, and a farewell. So as I was looking up a little bit of information about this writer, they were saying that he not only wrote about sports, but he also was able to write prose in a way that really got people's attention and was just very, very eloquent, to say the least. So, okay, so now I'm going to read it. I'm just going to play some chords underneath, and you'll see how you feel hearing this, and you'll see if you want to try something like this yourself. It could be anything. You could write something original, or choose a children's book that rhymes, or choose more serious minded poetry, the music of Shakespeare, the writings of Shakespeare, and add music to that, chorus to that. So I really want you to come to the podcast today with an open mind, with an open heart. Think about chords, think about your own music making, try to have fun, because I'm going to say something about that a little bit later on too. We really want to find fun, and we want to have that be a focus of 2020, fun and music making. Okay, so here I go. I'm going to say the words that are in front of me. Hope they are written down correctly. And then we'll actually go to the source, which I have in another location, and read directly from that source. And then we'll say a little bit more. Okay, so here it goes. Now that young April's back again, where spring has melted out the snow. Why should we dally longer here, who have so far to go? Why should we dally longer now to find where deeper pleasures dwell, since life can show with these two things, a hell and a farewell. Okay, so that's one simplistic way to play chords and have someone talk over the chords that you're playing. Which came first, the words or the chords? In this case, definitely the words came first, and then the chords that I chose and the order to play those chords came after. I wasn't sure what I would do. So now I'm going to play it a little bit differently. So that's one way. So if you are practicing your chords, maybe have someone write something for you to practice playing chords too, to kind of create a mood, create some sort of storytelling out of that, and have it be collaborative. And then the second thing you can do is maybe say some words and then stop and play the music, and then come back and say some more words and then stop and play the music. You get it? So it makes it a little bit more interactive, but it's back and forth. It's more spoken, followed by music. So I hope that makes sense. And then there was a third way that I had in mind to present this. So I'm thinking about that third way at the moment. So give me a moment to do this first, and then we'll loop back around and see what the third way is going to be for tonight. Okay. So now you hear me. I'm going to keep the same order, but I'm just going to say the words and then make up some music. Now, the difference is I won't play the chords as blocked. I'm going to break them up a little bit. Okay, so now that young April's back again, where spring has melted out the snow. Why should we dally longer here who have so far to go? Why should we dally longer now to find where deeper pleasures dwell, since life can show but these two things, a hell and a farewell? Okay, so again, it's just something made up. I never forget this one time I was playing for a group of teachers, and one teacher, I'm sure she meant well, but she just came to me and it sounded like she had thought about what I just did and just said, you know what, it's so nice to hear you make up songs. And I thought, well, it was a little bit more than just made up on the spot, but I was glad she kind of felt like it was on the spot created, because that meant it sounded fresh to her ears. It didn't sound overwritten or anything like that. But, let me encourage you, even if you decide to, quote unquote, make up your own music. And just because you make up your own music doesn't mean you're a composer. I visited that thought a while back, and it was after hearing the music of Duke Ellington, and I was thinking to myself, there's no way in the world he could have just sat down and just made that up. You could just hear his mind at work. And if you watch the video of him playing his own piano songs, or songs that were maybe composed at the piano first and then was later transcribed for orchestra, but you could see his mind at work, like he really was that composer, the person that put a lot of thought into. So I couldn't even compare what I do to anyone of that caliber. But I'm just saying, if you have any interest at all in writing your own music, one step would be to just jump into it if you can. Maybe get some help or inspiration from words, something that's around you that can inspire you, even if it's just taking what you just heard just now, where this person is writing about April. The title of the poem is called When April Calls. So I'm not sure what April meant to him. I know what April means to me. But he's talking about spring arriving after all of the snow has melted. And it's so interesting to see how he wrote this, because my understanding is that he grew up as a Southerner first and then moved to New York and was able to find success here in New York. And of course, he's since passed away, but still his writing is something that has been preserved. And to be gifted this book of songs was just an amazing gift. So I'm really grateful for that. Now, the third way I was thinking I would do something was, I guess, flow a little bit longer. So have whoever would read the poem, read it, and then just let me make up something on the spot. Now, I'm thinking about it now. I don't think I should do that right now because I really haven't read enough to absorb all of the feelings that could go into the playing of this. And since, I'm not one to really play a lot of jazz and improvisation, that's just not me. To flow is something that really takes a certain mood for me. And I feel that I flow best with other musicians. So when I was put in a position to flow, like at a community service that took place, that was the encouragement. Just flow. Just let whatever comes out of you. I find that you get a lot more help to do something like that when an audience is present. and you can literally feel their energy. So that's the other thing I was excited about for 2020, that I'm looking to make my shows more interactive, to be able to pull energy from the audience and also give energy back, but in a way that makes it fun and really worthwhile for the audience. So, okay. There's another poem that's from the same book, and it's called In Life's April. So we may visit that in a few moments. I'm not going to be playing anymore, but I did want to kick off today's podcast episode by doing something different. And so let's go to our other location now. So you're going to hear some movement. And as I'm traveling to that location, I will just tell you, I do have some shout outs to give. It was a really good Christmas, and I found that a lot of my students really feel like they know me now, know me well enough to give me pretty much all the same gift, which was hilarious. I couldn't believe how many of the same gift I got this year. And it was two different categories of gifts, which was the other funny thing. I just thought, wow, that is so coincidental that students who didn't even know each other got me the same type of gifts in two separate categories, mind you. So that was really, really funny. I have to laugh about that. So now we're in our other location. What I'm going to do is get our recorded music started. I'm going to take a sip of tea, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about a little bit more about what we're intending to do for 2020. So I hope you'll hang in for that. You are listening to CMajor Before the Show. Thank you so much for tuning in today on this Saturday evening. We're glad to have you here, and we just encourage you to keep on listening. Stay tuned, and I'll be back in a few moments. we're back. You're listening to CMajor Before the Show. I'm your host, CMajor Porter. Thank you so much for joining us on this Saturday afternoon into the evening. And we are talking about making up songs, making up music on the spot, having fun with your music making, going into the new year. And at this point, I think I want to give some shout outs, and then we're going to step back into how we started the podcast today, and just tell you a little bit more about this book that was gifted to me. So this week's shout outs have to do with a lot of students that have really been opening their minds, opening their hearts to something new. And so I want to give a shout out to a student who is writing lyrics for the very first time. A very young student, by the way. And so she was brave enough to do it. She embraced the idea of doing something new. And do you believe she ended up writing her own lyrics about a bear climbing a mountain, and to put music that was in front of her, put those lyrics to the music that she was playing. Now, the reason for this is that the particular exercise that was in the book was meant to be a fun exercise to show the difference between harmony and melody, and also challenging her to move up in different octave ranges and not being afraid to explore the piano in that way. So as she was moving up, she described it as a bear climbing a mountain and was able to write lyrics for the very first time. So shout out to her for that. That's huge. That's really, really big. So I was really surprised and happy for her, because it was a big moment for her. You know, at one point we thought she may even just stop altogether because she was having some difficulty in one part of her method, but she seems to have come around and really understands what she's doing at the piano. So again, shout out to her and congratulations on that. And I wish you success in your writing in the future, and keep it going. I can't wait to see what you're going to do next. Now, C major chords. We talked about that last week, if you recall, on the episode. We were looking for C major chords that you could find in Christmas songs. So I'm not sure where you took that one, but if you had some fun doing sort of a hunt for C major chords, then I think that's great. If that's something that pushes you to look into the music making further. Conversations over coffee about chords, music literacy, and writing down music in 2020. So I'm going to really be talking about that, just encouraging you to do that, because I think it's a worthwhile conversation. Now, we did say for 2020 we're going to step away from chords so much and talk about other music literacy as well, and writing down music, and we hope to do more playing as well over at the CMajor Radio Show. By the way, join us a little bit later over at the CMajor Radio Show podcast, because over there I will talk about the chords that we used for today's verses that you heard me speak at the top of the show. And so I will tell you which chords I used. If you haven't figured it out already, tune in for that. Another thing we'll talk about in 2020, who are you listening to, where, and why? Because I feel like I'm surprised all the time by my students who are listening to Spotify, they're listening to YouTube, they're listening to iTunes or Apple Music. And where do you get your music? That's a big question for us. So let's look forward to that, because when we do our polls and when we do other parts of the podcast where we ask you questions, that's going to be one of the things that we want to constantly know. Who are you listening to? Where are you listening to it? And why? Another thing we also want to focus on for 2020 as well, and this is really in the wake of the responsiveness that I'm learning about, that I'm researching right now in my professional development class. And in that program, it really, really pushes you to think about how you say certain things to your students, why you're saying them, and how can you really encourage them to do what it is they're seeking to do and not deter them. So one thing that I've found, and I've said this in the past on other episodes, was just when they make a mistake, don't make them feel like they just made a mistake. Welcome the mistakes, because I've heard this said in jazz too, that, a mistake can be a discovery for something that you would do next, something different that you didn't even plan on doing. And so if the student comes close, then you can make a remark that acknowledges that. Or if they almost got it, you can make a remark that says something about that too. If they're not quite there, you can also make a remark, just encouraging words to the student about how it's not quite where we need it to be, but it will be even closer the next time. And so I don't have this in my notes today. I didn't even put it as part of my lineup for things to say. It's not part of my outline. But I just want to mention the passing of Abby Simon. I was really saddened to hear that. I just recall having a discussion with one of my classmates in graduate school, and that was one of his idols. But Mr. Simon lived to be 99 years old, and I recently watched a video. I may have even posted it over on our Facebook page. I'll try to take a look at it with you before we go on to the next podcast. But to be 99, and he really had some very poignant things to say and some very sharp things to offer to us. And I understood every word of what he was talking about. So one of the things I loved, first of all, he never gave up playing the piano. He just said, look, if I have to crawl out on the stage, pardon me if I'm not quoting him correctly, but if he had to just, make an attempt to get on the stage, he would make an attempt to get on the stage. And so I felt that from just watching that interview that he felt like the stage was his home, really. And then to hear him say how his relationship with the record labels was such that the record label executives would come to him and ask him to record something that he would have never thought of recording in its entirety, because we don't think like that as pianists. We don't think, oh, Chopin wrote X number of waltzes or nocturnes, now I have to play them all. Nobody really thinks about that. You play what's comfortable for you, given your technique, given your ability to play it, and given your interest in playing it, really. But, of course, if you're not a musician and you're not a pianist and you're just an executive trying to sell records, then you may say to that person that signed your label, look, for this year, this project, we're doing this, we're doing that. So one of the things he said that also goes along with what I was saying a minute ago about being close, almost not quite. Imagine you're a pianist that has been really put to the test to play music perfectly every single time. And so audio recording and engineering is really the invention for that you can play things out of perfection, but yet out comes the record and everything's perfect. So I also had that conversation a couple of years ago with someone who is well known for interviews and speaking with young and up-and-coming artists about their ability to play on a real instrument live in front of others and to know that they can actually do it. But I don't think that's the point. I think the point is that if you are putting out a product, that somehow professional audio has made it seem that product has to be perfect or it will not be purchased. So it's an interesting point of view. Is that the case? If you go to a live performance and the person has the wrong note, will you still purchase the recording of that live performance if that note hasn't been corrected by the time it comes out for you to purchase it? So at what point does note perfection increase value of purchasing a recording? Interesting question. Anyway, shout out to all the audio engineers out there. I actually love audio engineering, and I look forward to the AES show every single year, and I hope to put more audio engineering and professional recording into my life and the lives of my students going into 2020. So, getting back to poetry, flow, and music making, let me just share with you right now, as I turn the music back up, that this book was just an amazing book. Really, it was. It was called Songs of the Stalwart, Grantland Rice. And then to see when it was published, and then to go online to read a little bit more about his history and see how he was described. You just have to see it to believe it, really. So I'm sure, this book is somewhere. What copy of this book? Probably a better copy, because this one has been written in a little bit. But I'm sure in someone's collection at some university, they've made sure that this collection of poems is well cared for, or as they call them, songs. So the person that got this for me, they were thinking that because it said songs, it really had something to do with my music making. But I was still really appreciative of this, so thank you to that person. And so if you can, just look it up. He makes a few references to music and music instruments here, including, I believe, the drum and the bugle. And then he makes other references to academic education as well. But he was known, as I understand it from the brief reading that I did, as a sports writer, and a very successful one. Try this at home: poetry, flow, and music making. Either play chords while reading a poem of your choice, reading a verse of your choice. It can even be a Bible verse if you prefer to go that route. Read a poem and then play some made-up melody to follow your reading. I think that was the third thing I was going to do. I was going to do something more melodic. But melody sometimes doesn't come to you right away. It almost feels like a gift when it does come. And so that also makes me think too about this conversation I was having with a family member who is a hobbyist when it comes to music and has wanted to play a musical instrument for a lot of years, but just never really found his way into it the way that I did, for instance, and some other family members did, enough to make a living with it. But the person pointed out B.B. King and how he never played chords and didn't really understand so much about music, just followed his heart and played the music. And so was wondering if it was still okay to try to play a melody line. And the way B.B. King did it, as we all know, he would sing first, never played while he was singing, and then play the music after, almost like commentary on what he just sang about. But we're encouraging you, again, make up some melodies, find something to read while you're playing the piano, play some chords, melody interactively, simultaneously, also as commentary, and most of all, have some fun. You're listening to CMajor Before the Show. We're going to take a small, I would say like a minute break, and then we'll come right back. Stay with us. that was about 1 minute, and I just wanted to take a little break there, just have another sip of my green tea, which is sweetened with honey, and it tastes good. So, any of you tea drinkers out there, you know the benefits of drinking green tea. I have a couple other shout outs and also some announcements. We're going to be presenting a show, as you may know, so I'm very excited about that. Thank you for your applause. Very excited about that. So if you care to, we're going to do it right now just to make sure the search is still going the way that it should go. If you go to your computer right now, if you happen to type in, as we're pulling up this site, I believe it's aftonshows.com. Now I just have to find out if you need to type HTTP or HTTPS. Okay, so I'm waiting for my computer to respond. Okay, so this seemed to work. I've just typed in HTTPS, and with the colon, with the forward slashes, and I typed in aftonshows.com/CMajor Porter. So if you do that, what you're going to do, you'll go to my page where you can get tickets now. We have a code that's available to save you some money prior to the show, and buy as many tickets as you want. Now, the number of tickets it shows that you can buy up to says 6. So if you need more than 6, come back and then just rebuy them. Buy that number again. You can buy the tickets. And so this will take place in January. Write this down. Friday, January 24th, 2020 at the West End. The address for the West End is 955 West End Avenue, New York, 10025. Shout out to Afton Shows. Shout out to the promoters who are working with us. The show will start at 9 o'clock, and you have to be 21 and older to attend this show. But it's going to be a great show. Bring out your friends to see CMajor, that's me, play and help and co-promote my music ahead of time. So the good news, we're broadcasting live, as you know, on the CMajor radio show. We do CMajor before the show as well, and you can also sign up today to be a guest on the show. So what we're hoping to do is to broadcast this live as well, and so we're inviting you right now to be part of our live audience, because you will be heard. We need your applause. And by that, I mean real applause. So we'll be talking to you about being heard. You know, who wants to be heard on YouTube? Who wants to be heard on Spotify or Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts. But it's going to be a great show. If you can, bring your friends. Now, the music of CMajor, acoustic, alternative, instrumental. As you know, if you've been following me, basically I have decided to categorize my music as acoustic pop. I write my own pop piano songs. And also, I had a theme of heartbreak and wonder. So I'll say a little bit about that, because you're going to hear me talk about this up until the show. And so the heartbreak came because it was just what I experienced. So everybody experiences and responds to heartbreak differently. My way of responding was to write about it and to write some songs, and that's what I did. I'm over it now, but at the time, anybody who has experienced having their heart broken, you know what that feels like. And so the good thing about me being able to come out of it was because being a musician, I could write songs about it, make up songs about it, and record those songs, and just kind of not to relive it, but just to say, you know, this is how I'm going to express this. And then now to have the opportunity to say, you know, if you're thinking about piano lessons, think about writing your own songs, put a few chords together and see what you can do. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's your expression, really. And so however you want to express yourself is how you want to express yourself. But then as I thought about it coming into this new show for January, I thought, you know what? We need to make the shows a little bit more fun. In the past, my audience has said, we want to hear your stories behind the songs, but I also want you to have fun while you're there too. So we're aiming to do that. I'm working with the promoter. I'm working with some other close fans and friends of mine. And I spoke with one of my number one fans today, and they were just saying, you know what? We're behind you on the ideas. You have some really good ideas that you want to bring to the show. So we're behind you on that. Come to the show in January. It's going to be interactive. It's going to be more fun. It's going to be funny, more than it has ever been in the past. I promise you that. And also, you are invited starting next Friday at 9 p.m. right here on this platform. I'm going to be rehearsing live. Now, for how long, I don't know. It could be for 10 minutes. It could be for 15 minutes. But what I want to do is start warming up to you now. If you're interested in coming to the show, I want you to know what you're going to get and the tone that's going to be set, some of the things that I will do during the show, and it's going to be a great show. So join me here next Friday at 9 p.m. for the first live rehearsal by CMajor. You're going to hear me live rehearsing for the upcoming show. I'll say a little bit more about it during the week. And then, of course, we'll join you on next Saturday as well for the podcast. So another big thing that's coming up, did you do your exercise instead of did you do your homework? So remember the homework sound that we've been playing every time, that comes up. It sounds so serious and dramatic, doesn't it? We'll still keep that, but we'll also add this because we want you to remember to have fun. So you'll see on our social media that we will post, did you do your exercise? And then we'll say that a fun exercise is now posted. Normally I would say homework is now posted, but I'm going to try a fun exercise is now posted. And so if you care to go to CMajorporter.com, I'm going there right now with you. Because that's our blog. Find the fun and the funny in music making. We're presenting something new for 2020. So you can see notes on a page. You can see some of the editing marks of that. You can see also that we're trying to show you what the classroom looks like on the inside. In the past, it was more looking at the outside of the classroom. But now it feels like I'm bringing you more into the classroom. I also look at some of the other things that we've written about chord changes and 3 chords, but I'm going to post something tomorrow that will be seen as a fun exercise. I think it will be a take on what we did today with the poetry and the writing. Go to CMajorporter.com. That's where you will find CMajor's classroom. Let me also go with you over to Music Glue real quickly, because we have been so musicglue.com/CMajorPorter. We've been trying to put something up that you can actually purchase and take away, because to be honest, I can't promise you I'm going to be keeping a lot of merch in stock to bring to the show. I'll try. I just don't know if I will for this upcoming show, but what I want to do is to have you start coming here to make your purchases, and then we will talk about what we have for sale online. So I'm excited about that. So if you go to Music Glue and go to our page, you will see we have news that we post. Happy December was the last thing that I posted. Tickets to CMajor's 2020 performance. And you can also follow the link now. If there is something that's broken on the link, let us know so we can go back and make that correction for you. Also, if you have a DM or a messenger where you want us to send this to you directly, let us know, because not everybody wants to respond to social media and have everybody look at what you've posted and responded to and liked and all of that. But if you want us to send you a link directly, I'm going to be starting to do that as well. The CMajor team is going to start doing that as well. You know who you are. Okay, so news, and then underneath that, shop. Right now, we have the course syllabus that was posted, and that was free. And then we had, I think it was a link to a song from $1, pay what you want. We just made it simple for you to get our music online. And then we had some listings. You can click on that. So the listing is for the show that's coming up, New York City, $12. You can follow the link to go to the show and make your ticket purchases there. And then if we ever decide to do something independent of a promoter, we'll sell the tickets on this website. And if this goes well enough, I'll go back to my old website. Shout out to Bandzoogle. I have not forgotten about you guys. You guys are wonderful. I hope you don't think that I don't like you, because I do like all of you over there. It's just we got to a point where it really needed to make sense for us to be over there and to think about how we wanted to go forward and to rebuild, because Bandzoogle, if you know anything about those guys, they're really serious about helping artists do their best, be their best. It's top notch. So we plan to go back to Bandzoogle. I'm keeping my promise and to work with you guys again, because you were wonderful to work with. So thank you so much. But right now we're doing it over at musicglue.com. And videos, I don't know if I have any videos posted right now on this website. Podcasts, it takes you right to Spreaker. So if you click on podcasts, you can see that we're live right now. Piano lessons, if you click on that, you'll see us at a website called Do Re Mi World. So it's the music teachers directory. And you know, it's so funny. I've had some people that have contacted me through this, but I really hope to have more people contacting me, because we still aim to be independent for 2020 and just doing our thing. So if you click on New Jersey, that will take me directly to music lessons in New Jersey and the New York area. So if you're looking for me there, you'll see me listed, and I'll say a little bit about my profile. I am a teaching artist with a reputation of being a fun teacher. So go there and read that for yourself. And TNEC, if you click on that, also takes you to the music teachers directory, and that's where you'll see me up top. And so other teachers as well in the area who are also wonderful. And then testimonials. I was starting to post some things that my students and parents are saying about me. And so last year I posted some things, and this year I'm going to post some more things to say thank you to all of my students. Thank you to the parents. I love you all. I'm really fortunate to have the students that I have, and I'm just really grateful for all of my students. So thank you. Big shout out to all the students and the parents. Big shout out also to the fans of CMajor. Thank you so much. If it were not for you, I wouldn't be able to do what I do, and I wouldn't stay as motivated. So I'm really grateful for you as we go into 2020. Happy New Year to you all. Let me look at the calendar real quickly, because I think that if I have it right on my calendar, that Tuesday is December 31st. That's New Year's Eve. Wednesday will be January 1st. That's New Year's Day. January 2nd is Thursday. And then January 3rd, that's when we're going to see you next, right here on the podcast. And that's for our live rehearsal starting at 9 o'clock. So join us this coming Friday, January 3rd at 9 o'clock as CMajor rehearses live. You hear it right here on the Spreaker platform. Also, join us a little bit later on this evening. We are going to be over the CMajor radio show. And tonight we're talking about those chords that you heard me play earlier on in today's episode. I hope you've had some fun today. Have you had fun today? Thank you. Now, I am not a comedian. I could never do what some of the top comedians do, but I do like to try to find the fun and the funny in music making, and not even in a way where I want to make that a career, being on stage and poking fun the way you've seen some of the top piano comedians do, which I admire all of them. But I just think that in light of taking piano lessons, that if you're not having fun, you really need to question what you're doing. That's just an opinion. Not that I haven't had serious students. Of course I have. I've prepared students for music exams, and to me that's fun. I love it because it's something I take seriously too. But the everyday piano student who may not care about taking an exam, who may or may not take their music making as far as being at that level, just to have fun with knowing what they can do at the piano. There's nothing more fun than that. And then to be able to laugh at it yourself and just keep it moving. Don't be upset that you made a mistake on the piano. Try to turn that around and find a way to create your own music making and wellness. I really believe that music making can help you keep well. So as we look forward to 2020, I'll see you in the new year. Join me here. We'll keep it going with music making and fun. We'll bring more music making and wellness topics to you. We'll also bring more interviews. We'll bring the polls into the new year. We're also going to bring something called a word cloud to the podcast. So if you know anything about that, just keeping it simple, different than a poll, just choosing words as one-word responses to something that we post. And we're going to try to do this live as well. It should be fun. And then you can find out the word that the audience uses the most, and that's the words that will be the most prominent when you do post answers to the questions that you're posing. So for the audience to respond to. So I'm excited about that. Lots of ideas on the table. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful Saturday evening. Happy New Year to you. Happy 2020. And all the best to you and your music making going into the new year. I'll see you over at the CMajor radio show, hopefully. And have a great evening. Take care.